Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it. Well, here we are, and what a week it has been. How are you, James Bale?
Welcome to episode 31. And how are you, James Bale? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm not too bad. We went through it. But still, the ball has been dropped. I feel we should just move on past this.
Just roll with it. Yeah, just roll with it. Just roll with it.
Yeah. I'm not too bad. I mean, things are getting a bit colder, aren't they? I mean, that's kind of the theme of the episode is cold and dark. But if I'm honest, there's a lot of good things happening in my life at the moment. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling enthused, and I feel positive. So yeah, it's all right.
Well, that's good. Hopefully you can share a little bit of that enthusiasm with me, because I've been going the opposite way to you, I think, as it's been getting colder and darker and rainy. It's fucking raining again now. It's been sunny all day. Well, I say sunny. I mean, it hasn't been raining all day, and now it's raining.
But only one of us is actually doing any training, and that's you. I mean, I'm still nursing the other hip injury at the moment and working my way through that. But I'm just feeling positive about life in general. At least you are getting out there and doing your thing.
Yeah, I am. And before we get into the specificity of all of that jazz, what have you done this week to get out in it? Got out in it. In it.
Well, this week I've done a fair amount of travel. I've been up to Birmingham and back for one day of meetings and seminars and stuff. So I haven't done a huge amount of exercise getting out of it. I've done some weightlifting. I've been for the odd walk. You've got a cat on your cup. And to yesterday, I pointlessly drove to Plymouth and back for no reason. So that counts as getting out in it. And I did the same today. And then I had a coffee in a Morrison's cafe while they did my car and while I waited for transport to get to the office I was working in.
You had a coffee in a Morrison's cafe while they did your car. Morrison's do cars?
No, the Autoglass, who were fixing the windscreen of my car, are owned by the owners of the company that owns Morrison's. So the Autoglass is in the car park of the Morrison's supermarket.
Mental.
Yes. And okay. So I've done a fair amount of getting out and about, but I just haven't been doing much running because I'm still suffering with this now left-hand hip injury now that my body's decided to go to do that instead of just balancing itself out.
What a bastard.
Yeah. Anyway, what have you done this week to get out in it?
Well, this week I've really, really struggled with general motivation of getting outside.
But you're doing your training. You're doing your training. It's really impressive.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm not, because what day was it? I swapped around some days. Wednesday I was supposed to do an easy run, but it was really cold after I finished teaching. So I was like, oh, I don't want to. So instead of going out for a run, I did a strength. And then I think I did my run on the Thursday instead. So I swapped out my strength and my run days. And I don't know, something happens in my head. If I don't do it on the day that you set it and it doesn't show up on my training peaks as having been done and I get the lovely green thing, I kind of feel like I haven't done it. It's weird. It's very, very strange. I think I've done all my training for this week.
I think you definitely have. I think you might be missing one strength in terms of what I set, but it's not.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
It doesn't matter that much because your strength, doing one loaded strength session a week alongside your yoga, alongside your sports in the park, that works. But I just put 2 in because 2 is preferable.
Okay, yeah, no.
Now I've said that to you. You're only ever going to do 1, aren't you? That's it. Yeah. That's now I've sentenced that to death.
I mean, basically, it was that episode with Daisy where she said, yeah, yoga and sports in the park totally counts as strength sessions. I was like, wow, There you go then.
There you fucking go then. That'll do it. That will do it.
But I think I had a really nice long run on the Sunday. Again, it was just 2 hours because I seem to be doing just 2 hours. Is that going to be my winter thing? Just a 2 hour Sunday run?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think keeping it maintenance for 2 hours is fine throughout the winter.
It's a really nice time. And I normally get on the hills around here, I normally get between 15 and 16 kilometers done
Hmm.
at a really, really nice, easy pace. It's a comfort zone.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, yeah.
worked out that 2 hours and 15K. And it's normally because I get a couple of the big, big hills and it's normally about 500 meters of elevation. It's my comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you did your coaching this week, didn't you? Your sports in the park. You
I
woke
did
up
that
with
this morning.
17 minutes to go this morning. I
Oh my
love that.
God.
It made me so happy today.
Ah, I was so upset. I was so upset. I don't normally wake up late if I've got shit to do because normally either I put my alarm on my Garmin and it buzzes and it wakes me up, or my cat wakes me up for his breakfast. So I'm not normally up late. And sports in the park starts at 9 a.m. And so my mate Crystal, she comes past and she picks me up at 10 to, and we drive down together. And normally I'm up around 7, which is enough time to have a cup of tea, get my shit together, sort my life out, and get ready. And this morning, when I looked at my watch, bleary eyed, it said 8:32, and I was like, "Well, that's obviously wrong. I don't wake up that late." So I had a snuggle with Bilbs, and looked at my watch again, and it said 8:33, and I was like, "Fuck." I think it really is gone 8:30. I think I'm going to be late for my sesh. So yeah, I had 17 minutes to get all of my shit together um before Christelle came to pick me up. It was really, I didn't have fun. I don't like being that pressed to do stuff. But luckily I'd planned out all of the session the night before and I knew exactly what was happening. Uh, and so by the time I got there, it was fine. But yeah, I've just had one of those days. The whole day I've been thinking, oh my God, I'm late, even though I've got one student at the very end of the day on a Friday who comes to my house,
Yeah,
no
you
less. I
set
don't.
you set the tone of your day with the way you
Yeah,
entered it.
totally.
Because you, even though you got a bit more sleep than normal, you probably woke up feeling no more refreshed because you went into chaos mode immediately.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I am just so fucking glad I got to observe that from afar and that I wasn't there because it would have been my fault somehow. And
Absolutely.
I'd have
Yeah.
taken the brunt of that. And I'm glad that I
Oh, I
was,
blame all other people for my mistakes. Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's my jam. I blame all other people for my mistakes. But then after sports in the park, I did do a nice hill run session, which was really cool, really good because you've changed it up a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
You've added
you have,
a few sprints as well as the long thresholdy type stuff. So it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
cool.
You got
Yeah.
your warm up sprints, and then well, you've got your warm up. Then you've got some sprints to get some speed in your legs, and then you've got some more endurance based hill climbing. And yeah, so we're moving up through the gears a little bit now. It's training that you've probably never experienced this kind of training before.
No, no, no. It's
So
all new to me and it's quite good fun. Yeah. Yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
annoying me at the moment is that I was, in my opinion, recovered from my hip injury, and I was starting to go up through the gears, and I was thinking, okay, this is fine. And we'd been for a run together when I was in France, and I could still just about match you, to a point, over a 5-6K. I wasn't feeling, and uphill, I was fine, and I wasn't feeling like you were far and above me. Now I've got this other injury. I'm like, fuck. By the time I get back to running, you're going to be off in the distance, and it's disappointing me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna, you'll be eating my dust, snorting my dust as I go past you super fucking fast. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Indeed.
But yeah, so it was a weird week of getting out in it. I did get out in it. I did all my scheduled things, but I don't feel like I did because I was changing days around to fit the weather. And also I haven't really wanted to.
Yeah. You did it though, and that's all that matters. Progress is being made. You're chipping away at that big pile of training I give you every week. and you're doing incredibly well. I'm actually very proud of how you're going into this winter at the moment.
Thanks, coach. That's
Mm.
cool. That seems like a very good segue to our super duper very special guest this week. What do you say we bring him on?
Let's bring him on, hey? See what he's got to say. The old boy. Getting into it.
Well, this week I am lucky enough to be joined by our very own James Bale, an endurance sports coach and lover of warm weather and sunny climes. James is not a fan of the winter, the dark, or the rain. So he's built a range of techniques to get all of us through the dark times while we are moving and trying to get fitter. James Bale, great to have you on. How's things?
Yeah, not too bad. Now, little bit of explanation for the listeners out there. We did have a guest lined up for this week, but unfortunately, due to circumstances unforeseen, we had a bit of a dropout. So what we decided to do, we put our heads together and we decided that what could we talk about that's a pressing thing right now? And for most of us right now, the problem is it's getting darker, it's getting colder, it's getting wetter, the days are getting shorter, it's less and less fun. And not only physically, but psychologically, it's harder to do the training we all know we're meant to do. I'm not, when I use the word training, I just mean movement, getting outside, doing something. You might be running 50K, you might be walking around the block, whatever you're trying to do, you need that toolkit to be able to get out and do it from a psychological perspective, but also from a practical, physical point of view. What do
Yeah,
you
and
reckon?
because yeah, and because I've been struggling quite a lot this week, because I'm sure last winter I wasn't this much of a moany old bitch about the whole going outside in the cold to train. I don't know if it's just because it's the beginning of winter just now, and we do have a horrible tendency where I live for the temperature changes to be super quick. So summer and winter, the temperature rises astronomically in the summer, and then we'll have a really, really, really hot autumn, and then all of a sudden, all of the temperature just drops, and it's like today it was 1 degree when when I was doing my sports in the park, whereas a couple of weeks ago we still had lots of sunshine and it was 15 degrees. So I'm sure I wasn't this moany about it last year. I
Yeah,
don't know. So
I gotta
this is why
say,
I
I
wanted to.
feel the same. Not about you, but I feel like this is the hardest a winter has hit me for a long time in terms of taking the wind out of my sails. I think maybe because I'm injured and can't actually get out and do the running, I've just kind of really checked out in my head because I haven't got that movement keeping me going, those endorphins, those regular, well, I've got to go and do my run. I'll get out and do it type thing. And so I'm really
Yeah.
feeling like I've checked out of it a little bit. I'll be back. I mean, I had a meeting with Daisy yesterday and she's going to get me back on the straight and narrow in terms of recovery. And she's not that fussed about this hip. It will get better. It's just a reaction to the imbalance I've been feeling. But yeah, I hear you when it comes to this winter is not fun, is it?
No, because also in the summer I was thinking, God, it's too fucking hot. I can't wait for winter. I love winter training. And then this week I've just been like, I don't want to, like, I either have to go out early in the morning and do it before work starts, before I start teaching, or I have to do it sort of late afternoon, depending on what I'm teaching, late afternoon after I've been teaching, when it's just about getting dark. And I don't wanna. I just don't wanna. So that is why, because our guest this week couldn't come on, that's why we decided to have this little bit of a chat because I've been trying so hard to remember my why this
Mm,
week.
mm,
And sometimes even when I'm saying to myself, you know, you don't want to you don't want to die of a horrible disease, you want to live as long as possible, this is for your health, this is for your longevity, da, 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 da. That's all for a future old person that I don't even know yet. Do you know what I mean? So even though I've been like mantraing my why to me every single day to get me outdoors, sometimes it hasn't been enough.
mm.
So, pep talk us, James. Pep
What do you
talk
want to
us.
know? What do you want to know?
Okay.
What do you want to
So
know?
Maybe first of all, before we talk about the kind of psychology aspect of it, which is something I've been struggling the most with this week, maybe we can talk about like tangible things that we can do to help us get outdoors in the fresh, in the dark, to to feel better or to feel more comfy or just to feel safer or whatever. So I don't know, what can we do on a tangible basis, on a kind of everyday basis to help us get outdoors and get out in it in the winter months?
Well, I think the first thing we got to think about is the temperature drop. It is a lot colder out there, and it's gonna get even colder over the coming months. And it's going to get wetter probably because of climate change. We don't get those really crisp days anymore. We just get this very cold, but not cold enough to freeze, yet cold enough to shit it down weather. And so it gets a lot wetter as well. So it's wet, cold, and slippery. So I think the first thing we've got to think about is the clothing that you're going to wear,
Okay.
because it's going to be very different to what you in the summer. You can get out in a pair of shorts, short sleeve t-shirt, maybe a cap to keep the sun off your bald head, whatever comes to hand. But in the winter, you've got to think about going out, and it's not a case of just putting a big warm coat on, because when you start moving, you're going to heat up. You're going to start overheating, and you don't want this one single big layer to take off. So think about layers. Think about a quality base layer which sits close and tight to your skin, which helps wick that sweat away, so that when you do sweat, it doesn't cool down and keep you and make you cold, and it gets it away from your skin. Then you've got put some layers on top of that, put a long sleeve, lightweight running top on with then maybe a running jacket on top of that, so that when you do start to heat up, you've got the opportunity to take those layers off and put them around your waist, or if you've got a vest, put them in your vest, or if you've got a waistband, put them in your waistband or whatever. And then they are also still there if later in the run it suddenly starts to get colder, or you start to get colder, or something happens and you find yourself unable to run for a second and you start to chill down, you can put that layer back on. And it just gives you options. Flexible, lightweight options are what you want when it comes to clothing.
Yeah, because when I was doing my hill runs today, actually I was wearing the same PE kit that I did my sports in the park. I had like a vest top underneath, and then I had a thin base layer, and then I had one of my kind of fleece line running cardigan. Well, I don't. It's not a cardigan, but you know what I mean. It's like a zipper thing.
Yeah.
But like it's always the same with me. I only have to be moving for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm instantly sweating my tits off. So I took off the vest first. That wasn't enough. Climbed up the hill to the woods, and then had to take off my long sleeve base layer. And I basically did my whole training. My base layer was thin enough to roll up and put into my pocket of my zip up thing, which I tied around my waist. But then I did the rest of it in just my vest top. So I was like, why don't you just go out in your vest top? Because you have to carry all of this other stuff around with you, and it's ridiculous.
It depends what sort of run you're doing. If you're going out and you're doing a very local run with some hill repeats, then the advice I'd give is, unless it's raining, go out in what is just feels slightly uncomfortable, because you'll soon warm up. It's that sort of get out the door and you're like, oh, it's a bit too cold. But as soon as you start moving, you'll warm up. Unless it's really cold, in which case go out in fucking layers and take them off and make sure you've got somebody carrying them around, because carrying around lightweight layers is not a problem if you've got the appropriate gear. If it's raining, then I would always advise having a lightweight rain layer, so that is something that you can roll. I've got one that you roll up and it just goes into a tiny little bag, and it's got 15,000 schmerbers in that bag. So
Good old fucking schmerbers.
good old schmerbers. So, and
Schmerbers,
that,
which I always visualize as conkers which have fallen on the floor.
yes,
Mm.
exactly. And
Still
so,
in their spiky little shells.
yeah. And so you've got and then with that, again, that can go in your pack or your belt, and you can use it when you need it. What you don't want is a big, thick, waterproof jacket, because your waterproof is there to keep you dry. It's not particularly there as part of your warmth. Your warmth comes from the layers you've got. Your waterproof is a very soft shell to stop the water going on you. You can also have something like a windbreak if it's a particularly windy day, just something that's going to stop that wind coming down to you. But also, clothing is not simply about warmth and permeability. it's also about visibility. So in these dark days where even in the middle of the day, the visibility isn't great, it's gray, think about bright colors, think about reflective strips, think about things that can be seen by cars, cyclists, people, bicycles, whatever you're going to come across, whether you're on the road, the trail, the towpath, wherever you run.
Or cycle or hike or any of those
Yeah,
things.
exactly. Yeah, I'm talking about it from a running perspective, but this is applicable to all
Broad spectrum.
applicable to all outdoor activities that you may or may not partake in,
Yeah, because I think that's the thing
apart
for
from
me as
dogging.
well. When
The
apart
bright
from
colors, dogging. The bright colors. Don't do that. Don't do that if that's an outdoor activity of yours.
dogging,
Go
isn't
for
that like a
go for
really weird
go for
sexual thing?
dark colors so no one can see you.
This took a weird turn. But whatever gets you outdoors.
Yeah, whatever gets you out there.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing that also puts me off a little bit when I have to, if I haven't done my run in the morning and I've said to myself, oh, it's okay, do it after work. I won't go into the forests on the
Mm.
trails when the sun's going down. It's just too dangerous. And I do know that the woods are full of boar
Yeah.
and
The thing
other
with
slightly
wooded
dangerous, not
areas, if you
things.
start to lose the light, then it's very hard to disseminate between rocks, puddles, stuff on the ground. It's the first thing you lose is that ability to see what you're doing with your feet. And
Yeah,
I know your visibility is not the best. Your visions are not the best anyway.
I
So
can't see for shit these days.
no.
So yeah, my runs, if I go out at the end of the day, I'll stick to the pavements and the roads and stuff like that. But again, some of the because I live in a little village, there aren't always pavements. Sometimes you're on the road, and I am a little bit paranoid about French drivers
Yeah, yeah. You
because
need
they
something
tend to
visible.
never slow down.
You need something visible. I mean, you've got some glow sticks kicking around, haven't you? Didn't you got
I haven't got
loads of
glow
those
sticks.
left over?
I've got
Your head torch.
my head torch. I don't have any glow
Yeah.
sticks from, my rave days.
No, no, but buy running clothing that's got reflective strips on it. In the winter, you're gonna have specific running tights that are gonna keep you going in the winter. So buy ones that have got reflective strips on them. I know black clothing looks cool, everybody out there, but bright stuff will make sure that people see you.
Yeah, this is the problem with living in France, right? Because my favorite shop over here to buy all of my sports kits is Decathlon. Because, cheap and cheerful, love it. But because French people aren't so into their colors, so it's actually quite difficult to
No, but
get
haven't those leggings got reflective strips on the back?
yeah, and I also
Mm.
bought some reflective strips that have got like scratch Velcro, so I can kind of put them around my calves or whatever, or my arms or somewhere.
Nice
So that
work.
yeah. So I did buy some of those. I bought those for the night race I did at the
Yeah, yeah.
beginning of September.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
you went out with glow sticks
Mm.
covered in glow sticks. Now, the thing to remember is options. You don't want to go out and find yourself in a position where you're too cold and you've got nothing to put on, or too hot when you've got nothing to take off.
Mm.
So always give yourself options, and always think about visibility. And then when you get back, because you've been out in the cold, you're sweating, but you don't feel particularly cold you've been moving. As soon as you get back, that sweat will stick to your skin and it will start to cool you down. So the best thing you do is get all that kit off immediately, stick it in the washing machine because we want to wash this stuff pretty quickly when it's all sweaty. Get yourself in the shower, get yourself dried up, put something clean on, and wrap up nice and warm. And don't allow yourself that time where you get home and start to really cool down because you will get sick.
Yeah, and I think that's especially key for women who are doing outdoor sports, especially runners, because I wear sports bras when I'm running, and they do tend to soak up the sweat.
Mm,
And the minute you stop, your special technical t-shirt might well dry super, super quickly, but those sports bras don't. And it's really easy to get the chills
mm.
straight away as soon as I get home. So yeah, 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 yeah. Sports kit off, straight into a hot shower. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, going from clothing to, foot apparel,
Oh,
shoes.
I love shoes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Running shoes, because the winter is, like I said, it's going to be wetter. There may be ice. It's going to be slipperier, muddier. You want to make sure that you're not going out in a standard pair of, if you're going to be running, a standard pair of road running shoes, or if you're going to be hiking, just a normal pair of leisure shoes, because you want to make sure you've got some traction between you and the ground. Your interface between the ground has to be sticky, something that is going to make sure that you're not slipping and sliding all over the place. Now,
big
we
lugs.
yeah, talk about trail shoes with lugs. You can talk about hiking boots that have got lugs. For me, I'm a big fan of the Vibram soles on the shoes. I think they're amazing. I think they're really sticky, and that's my favorite kind of trail running material.
Yeah, because it's on the trails where I am, it's well, first of all, it's very difficult to see where all of the rocks and the little kind of holes are and stuff because everywhere is now blanketed beautifully with all of the orange and yellow leaves that have fallen. So
Mm.
that's the first thing that's really, really dangerous. But as soon as it gets a little bit damp, those leaves are slippery.
Yes. Not only are they
So
slippery, but they also could be covering potholes. They could be covering loose rocks. They could be covering all manner of things. The ankle just wants to go in and snap. So you want to be very careful where you're running. You want to be very careful with the interface between your foot and the ground. And you want to be very careful about making sure that interface has got some traction on it. So look where you're going. Use the right shoes. Wear the right clothes.
yeah. And that's I love Mahokas for that. I have full 100% trust in Mahokas. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, talking about slipping, possibly injuring yourself, being able to see where you're going. I think we got to mention safety equipment. So going out with if it's not great visibility, going out with a head torch to make sure you're lighting up the world around you. Think about something with 800 plus lumens at least, and then make sure you
Lumens.
lumens. Make sure you carry
Lumens.
lumens. Make sure you carry.
Wasn't there, sorry, weird side note. Wasn't there, did you ever used to watch Dexter
Not for a long, long time.
back in the day? But did you used to watch it back in the day?
Yeah.
I can't remember what season it was, but I'm pretty sure there was a Dexter love interest whose name was Lumen.
Oh, interesting.
I think there was. Listeners, write in. Let me know if I'm right because I ain't going to Google that shit. So
I
write in
remember
and let
that.
me know if I'm right.
I remember the Moomins.
The
Do you
Moomins.
remember the Moomins?
Oh, I used to love that show. Those fucking weird hippos that lived on the moon
Yeah, yeah,
or wherever the
amazing.
fuck they.
Yeah,
Oh, they were so cool.
they were cool. So
Uh,
yeah, wear a head torch. Make sure you got visibility around you. Take a first aid kit with you if you're going for a long run and it's
Shit,
slippery
man,
and
I
wet.
never take a first aid kit with me.
Take an emergency blanket with you, a shiny blanket, so that you can wrap up. Let's say you fall over and break your leg, and you're lying in a stream and you can't move, and you're getting
Fucked.
wetter and wetter and wetter and colder. Make sure you've got a blanket with you to wrap up. Make sure you've got your phone. Make sure you've got a whistle with you so you can alert people to where you are.
Thumbs up to that whistle idea.
Yeah,
Shit, man,
yeah.
I never take any of this stuff out on my long run.
Think about making sure that you've got something that, if needed, you could use to collect water. Because if you start to get if you're lying there all night and you've hurt yourself and you need a way to collect some water to keep yourself alive, you might need something like that.
Fucking hell.
Mm.
Dangerous stuff, this going
Maybe
outdoors.
a flare.
Goodness gracious. Who knew it could be so dangerous going out your front door?
I mean, it's all contextual, isn't it? You got to do your own risk assessment. Where are you going? How far are you going? What are the conditions going to be like? What's the underfoot conditions going to be like? What are the weather conditions going to be like? And what do I need? Do your own risk assessment, then create your own method statement. What are the risks? How am I going to mitigate them as best I can? If you're going for an hour's jog around the neighborhood or a half an hour jog around the neighborhood, you probably don't need a first aid kit. You probably don't need an emergency blanket. You probably don't need a flare. But if you're going off into the trails, then you're probably going to have to think about making sure you're taking stuff with you where if the worst happened, you could seek help, look after yourself, and make sure that you're warm enough.
Yeah, because I think as well the thing I lull myself into a very false sense of security in the hills and trails around where I live because I know them so well. And my assumption is, because I know these places so well, nothing bad is going to happen. So on a Sunday, especially my long runs recently, because they've only been 2 hours long, I've been really bringing out just the minimum: one flask of drink, maybe one snack bar, and one of my new pouches um, of puree mashed up fruit stuff, which, quite frankly, Bale, is fucking yum. I think I might have found my fuel. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, basically, um, bare minimum of stuff is what I bring out.
Mm.
So now I'm a little
It's
bit worried
you've
that
just
I've
got to think about how
tempted
quickly
fate.
the environment can change around you
Yeah.
when something happens. When because I a few years ago I did a double coast to coast cycle ride from my house. So I cycled to the south coast, cycled back up past my house, cycled to the north coast, cycled back again. So that combined was double coast to coast.
Nice.
280 miles of cycling in a day. I
Is
set
that
off
all?
I set off at 4 in the morning, watched the sun come up, and it was a
Nice.
brilliant day's riding across both moors, covered the whole of Devon. But then as I was about 20 miles from home, it started snowing.
Oof.
And I was in Lycra. You know, I had some stuff with me. I had all the stuff I'd need with me. But, you know, and then it started snowing harder and I got home and I got across the moors through this snowstorm. And then about 4 miles from home, it snowed really hard and thin cars were stopping. It was like snow was mounting up.
Fuck.
Snow was clumping on the front of my bike. And then I got a flat tire.
Oh, bollocks.
and and I was by the side of the road, and I remember thinking to myself, right, you're going to take your gloves off. You've probably got about 2 minutes to get this tire changed before you lose the ability to change this tire.
Shit,
Not
man.
from a psychological point of view, because you start to get cold and you start to not be able to know what you're doing. From a physically point of view, because you start to lose the ability to use your fingers. So I just had to like go into zonal mode, strip this tire down, get it in, get the air in the tire, get it back on the bike, and then just start going home. But it's remarkable how much the environment changes around you when it's covered in snow. And suddenly you're like, where am I? How far from home am I? Where have I got to go? And you go from a place, because I was only 4 miles from home, you go from a place of complete comfort, like you say, were saying a minute ago, to feeling in like you're in an alien environment and the conditions are against you. And it could go very wrong very quickly. Luckily, I got home all right. When I got home, my housemate had gone out and locked the door and not left a key out, as
Fuck.
they'd promised they did. So I had to go and sit on the neighbor's Rayburn for an hour and drink some whiskey. But it was a nice little break.
Fucking hell.
But yeah, all I'm saying is even in a place where you think you are very comfortable, you know it well, if the conditions change suddenly and you're not prepared for it, then things can go south fairly quickly.
Mm, yeah, I think I really need to. I've been lucky, I think, so far, because it is autumn. But where we live, so close to the Alps, in these foothills and stuff like that, yeah, we can have quite dramatic weather changes, even like to the point where on this hill in Collonges, where my village is, we might not have any snow, but if you cross to the next hill in Saint Cyr, the village over, it's there's been a blizzard and
Mm.
it's like completely covered. So yeah, it can change quite dramatically. Yeah, yeah, I need to pay a bit more attention to that. Um, okay, so that is our safety and all of the equipment that we need to use or need to think about if we're doing longer hikes or cycles or runs or whatever. What about preparing ourselves in order to go out into that
Physicality,
tempestuous, vicious, evil, nasty, cold, and dark environment to do our sports, to do our movement?
when it is colder than it normally is, then all of your bits and pieces, your ligaments, your tendons are going to need a little bit of more warming up before they get to that point where they're supple and ready for you to use them. Because if you just
Okay.
go straight out cold, there is a chance you're going to increase your risk of injury because everything's going to be a bit colder, a bit stiffer, and it's going to take longer to get there. So it's very good idea to do a slightly elongated warm up at home. Really
Okay.
get your blood pumping, get your glutes firing, make sure that all your little bits and pieces are ready to go before you set out foot out the door. Otherwise, that cold weather is going to hit them, and you're not going to. It's going to take you. You're doing your warm up in the environment you're warming up for, and there's no point in that. Do you warm up
Ah,
outside of the environment you're warming up for, then get out into that environment? And vice versa, when you get home, do a nice, comfortable warm down. You don't have to do any static stretching, particularly if you don't want to, but you can do some, you can make sure that you're doing some breathing work. You can do some active stretching. You could do some yoga positions, whatever you need to do, just to bring yourself back into the post exercise frame of mind.
okay. And do you need to do that like the second you get back, or can you have a warm shower and put some clean clothes on and then do the stretching
I always, I
to warm
tend,
down?
I tend to, I mean, my warm downs are fairly short. I tend to just do some active stretching, maybe a bit of some yoga poses, and it keeps me good. It depends on, contextualize it to yourself. What does your body need? What do you enjoy?
Okay. All right.
If you're
But
freezing cold and you want to warm up, then prioritize a shower.
yeah.
Think about it as in your hierarchy of needs.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Maslow.
Yeah, there you go.
Something which I noticed today
Yeah.
while I was doing my new hill repeat style that you scheduled for me. I've noticed that when I am exerting myself a little bit more, like doing speeds or hill repeats, I find it harder to breathe than
Yes.
it was a couple of weeks ago. What the fuck is going on there?
Yeah, cold air makes breathing drier and harder because it makes your lungs contract and it makes all your tubes and stuff dry out. So that makes breathing harder. It just makes the whole process less pleasant. You can get little sore bits in your nose, whatever it's, can't remember what it's called. But so if you're not exerting yourself too hard, try and practice breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. That's going to keep everything a bit more moist because you've got
Okay.
stuff in your nose that helps with that.
Are you talking about like the little weird hairs?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But then also, if it's a really cold, dry day, then think about maybe using a bandana or putting something on your face to create a moist environment around your mouth and nose.
I never do that.
Mm. You don't want anything that's going to suffocate you. But whenever I ride my bike in the winter, I have my base layer. I can pull it up above my nose, so it just sits there, and it's there to keep the wind off your face slightly, but also the mesh allows everything to stay a bit moist around your breathing apparatus, facial breathing apparatus.
Fucking hell. Just say nose and mouth. That's a good idea. I've never ever used a bandana because
Mm,
I've always thought that it would make breathing even more difficult
mm.
in the winter than it currently is with cold air.
Yeah, you could use a bandana or a schnood or something like that, but nothing too light, nothing too heavyweight, obviously, but just something to and going on to something we're going to talk about in a bit, that keeps the direct cold wind off your lips and nose as well, which are liable to chafing and sore patches from the cold weather.
Yeah, I do notice when it is on when I was doing my speeds on Tuesday, it was I did it after yoga and it was quite sunny,
Hmm.
which is nice, but it was very cold, windy. And when I got back home, my lips were bright red and they were quite tender. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I'll skip a topic and we'll go back in a minute, but yeah, think about skincare in the colder months, in the summer, you're nice and warm and plump and happy and
Betty,
sweaty, and it kind of
moist.
you self lubricate almost. But
That's so disgusting.
but in the winter, you've got a colder, more piercing, chill air. And if you don't look after those bits of you that are exposed, and even the bits that aren't exposed, things are going to chafe, things are going to rub, things are going to get cold sores on them. You're going to crack, things dry out. I always find that my lips start to crack if I don't look after myself in the
Hmm.
winter, and I get little cracked bits between my fingers as well. So whatever your skincare routine is, enhance it a little bit during the winter. Use some lip balm before you go running. Put some Vaseline around your nose. Obviously, don't block your nose, but just put a little bit around your nose. Try and you choose some headgear that will keep your ears hidden from the ravages of the wind. Make sure that you're when you get home and you've had that shower, you're lubing yourself up.
Okay.
Just look after that skin because
Yeah.
it's your barrier between you and illness.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah. Um, I need to pay a bit more attention to that. I'm a little bit useless. Um, one of the other things that I struggle with a little bit, I mean, we all know I'm a bit shit at fuelage. But one of the other things that I've noticed, especially on longer runs last weekend on Sunday, um, I'm doing 2 hours, about 15 Ks. I bring one flask with me, which is
Yeah,
about
yeah.
500 milliliters,
You're
and
falling
it's
for the
never
trick.
empty.
You're falling for the trick of winter.
Yeah.
Winter's convincing you don't need to drink because you are cold. It's the same trick the swimming pool pulls on people.
I don't feel
The,
thirsty.
the swimming pool makes you think you are not working hard, therefore you're not sweating, but you are. You're sweating just as much in the swimming pool as you are on a cold weather run, and you don't feel thirsty. So, you've got to put in the same tricks, the same techniques we've talked about before when it comes to fueling during exercise. Give yourself those time periods where you got right, 20 minutes has gone by, I've got to have a drink. I whenever I'm doing a long run, I drink every 10 minutes, I eat every 20. That's my routine.
Mm.
Put an alarm on your watch so that every 10 minutes that goes by, you get a little buzz and it's like, oh yeah, shit, I've got to have a sip. And whether you're feeling thirsty or not, I don't give a fuck. Drink the drink. I don't care. It's the job. It's what
Right.
you do. If you don't do it, your body won't thank you. I'll say it to everybody that I coach. It's the job. You got to do it. You don't, some days you don't want to go running, but you go running. It's not like you just go, oh, I don't fancy it. You know,
Yeah.
it's part of what's required to make sure you're looking after yourself in the right way, much like fueling nutrition is. It's the
Mm.
same with making sure you're hydrated. Because you'll
So I
get
have
back from your run, you won't have drunk enough, and then you'll be digging yourself into a hole.
yeah. So I have a question because on a Thursday I go hiking with some girlfriends on the trails. And because it's really, really cold, I do notice a massive difference now. If I'm going for a hike, I'll stay cold. Whereas if I go for a run, I'm instantly hot the second I leave the house. But on my hike on Thursday, because it was fucking bitterly cold on Thursday, it was brutal. And I have an early morning lesson on a Thursday, and my student lives at the top of this girt big fucking hill, and it's a bit of a bitch to get up to her house, and I was super toasty hot when I arrived, but the way back to my house is all downhill.
Hmm.
And I'd sweated in my clothes. I go in my PE kit because I go hiking straight after, but I'd sweated in my clothes on the way up. Obviously couldn't take my clothes off at her house because that would be weird in a student's house. So these clothes dried on me and I got cold, and then this entire downhill period, fucking hell, 20 minutes of downhill. I don't know, it was weird. I couldn't even think. So when I went for my hike, I brought a flask of hot tea
Mm-hmm.
instead of electrolytes, and I drank that as we did our hike instead of electrolytes. Is that okay, or did I
Yeah,
do a
no,
bad thing?
a hot drink is an incredible way to get warm.
Oh, okay.
Recently, I've been catching a very stupidly early train out of Oakhampton to get up to Birmingham or Bristol, and sit in and you get on the train at 7 o'clock, and they've got all the doors open. It's just sat there because it's the first train on this line. So you're sat in this cabin, freezing. I always take a hot drink with me because a hot drink warm you up from the inside, and
Okay.
it's a really good idea. But it sounds to me with this whole walking around thing, you need to get yourself a better quality base layer because a base layer will wick that sweat away from you, so that when you do sit at your student's house, you don't start to cool down. But
Okay.
but yeah, hot drinks are a brilliant idea if you're going out. I mean, if you're going out for a really long trail run, take a small pot of soup in it, one of those thermos pots with you, and stop and have a bit of soup or a bit of stew somewhere halfway and warm yourself up. It's remarkable. Also, a good thing if you're going out on a really cold day, take some of those hand warmer blocks with you and you can stuff them in your gloves. They're amazing.
Ah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because this week it's been the first week where I've had to run with gloves on as well, actually. I always come home carrying them in my hand because they get to a point where I'm just completely sweat my tits off, and I've stripped down to my little vest layer, and everything else is just wrapped around my waist. I look like a really weird kind of totem pole because I've just got like I've got my vest wrapped around and then my jumper wrapped around and then my base layer wrapped around and then it's just my vest. It's a very weird clothing totem pole by the time I get home.
You need to take your vest out with you.
My vest. Oh,
Hmm.
my running
Yeah,
vest.
your
Sorry.
running vest. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wearing my vest. I'm not going to take my vest off. Then I'd just be running around in my sports bra. And that
No, no,
would
yeah,
be
that's what I mean.
crazy.
Take your running vest with you and stuff your stuff in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, probably need to
It's
start doing that
it's
now.
it's
Yeah.
not it's not a it's not a huge hardship wearing a running vest in the winter.
Yeah, true. True, true.
Mm.
So yeah, if I am hiking and I'm doing a slightly longer but slower day out, um, I will stay hydrated if I'm drinking hot tea as opposed to a cold
Oh, of
electrolyte
course,
water.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's a hierarchy of hydration. Just because an electrolyte drink will hydrate you and fill you up with those electrolytes doesn't mean that a warm tea or a green tea or a fruit tea doesn't hydrate you. It just hasn't got those electrolytes in it.
Okay.
Do you know what the most hydrating, scientifically, the most hydrating drink is?
Um, is it urine?
No,
Okay.
that would be a silly answer because that's all the stuff that you're dispatching out of your body. Have another guess.
Coffee?
No, 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 no. It's full fat milk.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's got loads of electrolytes and sugars in it.
Mental.
Mm.
I mean, it's
So,
off the cards for me because I'm vegan,
yeah, of
but
course. Yeah, it
interesting.
doesn't mean that just because it's technically the most hydrating of drinks for a human doesn't mean that there aren't negatives to drinking full fat milk as well.
Yeah,
It just means that it hydrates you the best.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's
I
intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah, I never would have guessed that in a
Mm.
million years.
Yeah, yeah. It's not something you don't want
Interesting.
to go running with a bottle of milk though. It won't gastrically do you any favors.
Oh no, I can't imagine dairy would be a good thing to run with, to run on.
So to
Uh,
further the points we've been making,
mhm.
I know it sounds like an easy answer. We're talking about darkness and early mornings and late nights and cold and wet and rain. If you can, train in the day. Go out at lunchtime. Go out while the
Mm,
sun is at its zenith to try and maximize those light gains.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Not
know
many people can, but if you
yeah,
can, do it.
yeah. I mean, I am aware that I'm quite lucky because I do private tuition. There's a couple of days in the week where I can be free around midday, and I do my training before lunch and stuff or around lunchtime. I am lucky in that respect. I know that not everybody can do that. So yeah, that would be the best thing to do. Right, we've talked about the tangible stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. And I can go to the shops and buy, special clothing and all that jazz. I get that. What I've been struggling with most this week, though, is my brain.
Right.
It just keeps telling me, stay inside. It's so cozy. Stay under the blankets. Don't get up so early. And I really, really, really have to work hard and don't always succeed in giving into it.
Yeah. Well, there are a few aspects to this, isn't there?
Mm,
Firstly, we're building up to Christmas. The days are getting shorter. They're getting more and more horrible. Sometimes it's okay to stay inside and
okay.
not do it. You know what I mean? It's not a punishment. Trying to get outside and do some training, trying to get outside and be active. It's good for you. As long as it doesn't become an everyday you don't do it thing.
Mm,
Sometimes it's okay to wake up and think, you know what? It's shitting it down. It's dark. It's muddy. It's horrible. I'm going to do something else. As long
mm,
as, I mean, and every now and again, that something else could just be lying on the sofa watching films and eating popcorn. As long as that doesn't become your 24/7, happy days, you know. But as long as you're being active and you're trying to do things, then that's okay. Secondly, you can remember the benefits because at the moment when it is like this, a lot of people start feeling a bit low. I know I am susceptible to that sad thing that everyone talks about.
seasonal affective disorder.
That's it.
Nailed
I
it.
start to go downhill, so I double my vitamin D. So I'm taking a vitamin D supplement and I double it because it helps me. And I tell you what I've done this year is I've got a little bird feeder on my window and I'm feeding the little birds. And so I'm sat at my office, sat at my desk, or stood at my desk. It's a standing desk, and it's the best anti-sad thing I've ever done, because I've got these little birds. They're constantly coming and chipping at the window and taking all the food away. And there's loads of them. There's like 10 of them on there today. It was amazing. And so just that keeps me happy during the winter. But anyway, find something that motivates you, or find a reason why you want to do it. Is it because you want to keep yourself happy? You want to have an injection of endorphins? Or have you got an objective early next year? Have you got a half marathon in March, April, May? In which case, you're going to have to train through the winter. You're going to have to find a way to do it. You can also give yourself rewards. You can think, right, if I go and do this, then I get to do this later today. If I go and do this, then I'm going to get myself a treat.
Yeah, I think I might have to think about the reward system, because at the moment, I mean, my first race next year, I think, is the beginning of March.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the first weekend in March is my first planned event. Because funnily enough, I was thinking about this just the other day, when I was thinking, oh, don't want to go out and train. And I thought to myself, I wonder if it'd be helpful next year to find an event, just a little one, just around where I live, that falls around the end of November or beginning of December, to keep me in training mode. Because after the UTBV at the beginning of October, um, because I don't want to stop training, because I know that I'll feel annoyed with myself, and I'll just be an utter bitch to the entire world if I did stop running completely. But that kind of, I don't know, it's such a weird antagonistic force. Like, I don't want to go outside because it's rainy and cold and dark and wet and miserable, and it's going to be cold, and I don't want to do it. And then the other side of me going, yeah, but if you don't do it, you're going to lose fitness. You're going to feel more rubbish because you won't have had your endorphins. You're not going to be reaching your weekly training targets, and it's just a constant fucking battle all the time.
Few things on this. Firstly,
Mhm.
what you can do in the off season is just give yourself 2 weeks off and say, right, I'm having 2 weeks off. I'm having 2 weeks off training. I'm not going to do any running. I'm just going to do my normal yoga. I'm going to do my sports in the park, but I'm not doing any running for 2 weeks. That's my off season. That's my holiday. That gives your brain the opportunity to go, I'm right, I'm having a rest. I don't fancy it right now. And then when you get back to it after that 2 weeks is over, you can think, right, I want to jump back into this. And it gives you that motivation because you haven't done it for 2 weeks. You realize you miss it and you get back going again. Another thing you can do is use the off season or the downtime or the winter time as an opportunity to try new things. If you're a runner, so maybe you want to go and explore somewhere new. So maybe you go off in a different direction, find a different trail, but don't put any pressure on it. Just think, right, I'm just going to go exploring, or I'm going to try a different way of fueling. I'm going to find out what it's like to have a curry halfway around my run that I've taken in a thermos, or whatever you want to do. Find a way to take your mind off the run itself, which is, something that I do frequently is if I'm having a bit of a wobble about running, I'll buy myself a new pair of running shoes and think, I want to try out these new shoes. Then
Mm,
the run becomes about trying the new shoes as opposed to the run itself.
yeah.
So think about, I want to go and try that new trail. I want to try that new direction. But 2 weeks off may not be a bad shout. Do
Mm.
you focus on your nutrition, do your yoga, do sports in the park, have 2 weeks off running completely, and then jump back into it for after that.
Yeah, because I do, like I said at the beginning, I've been telling myself every day, I've been saying, remember your why. You want to be autonomous and fit when you're super, super old, because I'm already kind of old. I'll be 45 next month. That's so old. So, like, in another 45 years, I don't want to be decrepit and unable to look after myself, and in a care home having other people look after me. I still want to be autonomous and fully functional. Do you know what I mean? So I keep saying to myself, remember your why, remember your why. But it does get more difficult to remember that why when it's cold and dark outside, but it's nice and light and cozy indoors.
A 2 week break, a 2 week off season is going to make no difference at all in 50 years' time.
Yeah.
But if you fall off the cliff and have the entire winter off and then it knocks on into next year, those are the decisions over time that make the difference.
Mm.
when you're 90.
Yeah, yeah, because it did make a big difference when I started back after I had the break after the UTBV, and I started doing my longer runs again. And then I think one of the long runs that you scheduled was about 3.5 hours, but it happened to be a really stormy day, stormy, windy day. It wasn't rainy, it was windstorms. And I didn't like it. I felt quite unsafe. So I called it and came home after 2 hours. And then you decided that you were going to make my Sunday runs just 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I quite liked that. It was nice not to have to think, fuck, I've got to be out
Yeah.
in
Did you feel the pressure was off a little bit?
yeah,
Yeah.
so much because there is a massive difference between just a 2 hour run
Mm.
and then having to do, I don't know, 25 or 30K over 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah. And like, you can have 2 weeks off running. You could have 4 weeks off running, but you could go and investigate a new thing. You could think, right, I'm going to do some massive hiking. I'm going to find myself a hiking buddy and get some accountability and just get myself out there and go and hike some new places. These
Yeah.
are these are all new things you can try. You don't have to just slog it out through the winter because it is unpleasant.
Mm.
Some people have got that motivation, they can. And under normal circumstances, if my hips weren't a nightmare, I would be out doing my thing. I've never really been a morning person for training. I know I'm not. I can do one morning run, and then I'm like, well, I've done that now. That's fucking morning. That's my morning run for 5 years, and I'm rubbish at it. So I know I have to do it early evening, or I have to have my powerful head torch on and go running at night, and
Mm.
or I've got my treadmill, but I hate my treadmill.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I could do treadmill stuff.
but you can
Yeah.
adapt. You can adapt your training through the winter to not if you're not in a position to go and do long runs, then you can just do really high quality sessions in the week, a 2 hour session at the weekend, and that's enough. It's not like you're gonna lose fitness.
No, 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 I know. And I think the thing I need to keep telling myself is, I'm not a pro. I'm not trying to be a pro. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to win any of these events I've signed up for next year. Those events are just to keep me accountable to my training, which is all working towards my higher why of longevity, healthy life, all that jazz.
you know what is
So
really
yeah, I
important
keep
during the
sorry.
winter. You know what is really important during the winter?
Eating soup and hot fresh bread.
Strength training. It is a serious point though. It's an opportunity to focus on your strength and conditioning, mobility. You know, if you've got things and niggles you want to work on, now's the time to work on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's a good point. And that's why in the middle of the week, when the weather was a bit dodge on the Wednesday, I flipped my sessions and I did my strength on the Wednesday instead of Thursday and my run on the Thursday instead of Wednesday.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Cool.
And a final point I think I want to make on
Mm-hmm.
winter training is
Mm.
eat a healthy diet because
Mm.
at this time of year, it's cold. So germs and bugs and all the little things that viruses that get on us, they are breeding much more rapidly than they do in the summer. So you want to tend to that immune system. It's not possible to boost your immune system. Don't listen to the marketing rubbish. You can tend it. You can make sure that it's in the best and strongest position it is to try and keep you healthy and keep you free of illness. And a healthy diet will make sure you do that. And a healthy diet isn't just fruits and vegetables, it's a rounded diet and it's enough calories to get that recovery in. It's enough protein to get that recovery in. It's enough carbohydrate to fuel your training. It's everything.
And it's not falling prey to like over here where in Leon, favorite, I mean I can't eat it because I'm vegan, but a favorite winter food thing is called the raclette. And basically, it's melted cheese and potato.
Sounds all right, to be honest.
Yeah, but
Sounds
it's
all
not
right.
very rounded.
One of my favorite things pre-veganism was a cassoulet. I loved a cassoulet.
Oh, the old sausage and bean casserole.
Yeah, I love a cassoulet. I could, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I am a big fan of soup and bread in the winter.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But just eat healthy and get out on it. Nothing. What's the worst that could happen? well, you could find yourself shivering in a stream wrapped in your emergency blanket that thank fuck you brought with you because I told you to. But yeah, ultimately, you're going to get wet, you're going to get cold for an hour or so. Come home, get warm, eat well, keep safe.
Yeah. And I suppose as well, the thing is, if you are um going outdoors, still being as active as possible in the climate that you are living in, that's also going to keep you healthier and help your immune system and all of that stuff as well. So,
Absolutely.
oh, brills. Thanks, James Bale. That
No
was
worries.
super interesting. And I think I definitely needed that this week
Yeah.
because I was just thinking I can't do an entire winter of internal brain battles of me wanting to stay in, but also wanting to go out and just generally
I know all about
driving my
internal
own head
brain
in.
battles right now. Christ, I'm an expert. So at this point, aren't you
Yes.
meant to ask me?
Yes. So,
Yes.
um, final question, and it's the most important question of the entire podcast, and it's something that we ask every single one of our guests to do. Um, is we have a playlist on Spotify, and we would like you to add a song to that playlist, something that motivates you or inspires you, or you generally just love jamming with. What is the song that you want to add to our Spotify playlist this week, Bold Man James Bale?
That I'm going to add a track called Neon Nights, which was a single which was released very, very recently by Hagen Featley.
Hagen Featley.
Hagen Featley. It's
That's
a
an extraordinary name.
yeah, it's a very cool song. It's a very cool song. It's synthwave, very awesome. Love it.
Nice. Okay, well, we shall, and by we, I mean you, we shall add that to our Spotify playlist, and listeners will be able to get hold of that badger on Monday. So, yeah, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Appreciate your time.
The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel.
Okay. So I don't think we need to do a debrief because that would be weirder.
I think it would be a rebrief, wouldn't it?
It would be a rehash, a
Yeah. So
rehash brief.
I think we
So I
should
think
probably leave that this week and head straight to the cafe.
so after that fascinating hike and a chat, shall we go and find a coffee and generally forget about it?
Yeah, I'm up for that. Why does it feel like it's it feels like you're taking the piss out of this, out of
Massively
my
taking
pattern.
the piss out of everything that you say every single week on the show.
Yeah, let's go and have a coffee and forget about it.
Yeah. The weekly roast. Is that it? What have you chosen for us this week, Bale?
Well, I decided that being that we're
Mhm.
out in the wet and the cold and the damp, it would be a good idea to forgo a nice warm coffee and have a cold brew
Makes
just
sense.
to really drill down into the quite how cold and miserable we are. So I went to a place called Mont 58 and I got some of their cold brew blend beans. Now
Ooh.
Mont 58 is an award-winning craft roastery based in southeast London and Ashford, founded by husband and wife team Sai and Maya and their dog Whippet.
Oh,
Their HQ and micro roasters are their roastery cabin in the back garden in southeast London,
that's
and
epic.
they have a second roastery in Ashford, Kent. Now, what really drew me to them was that they are at the moment attempting to become a B Corp certified company, and they're
Don't know
hoping to
what that
get that.
means.
Yeah, it just means you're incredibly sustainable and you're legally obliged to be as sustainable as possible. And
Okay.
they're pushing for that in 2024. Their beans are traceable to the growers, and some of them are also Rainforest Alliance certified and organic certified. All of their packaging is compostable or recyclable and excludes almost all landfill materials, and they are working to reduce the use of cardboard and paper. They deliver at least 70% of their coffee by bicycle, and so they've got zero emissions. And for the remaining, they offer an electric vehicle delivery. and they and where possible, they subsidize 40% of the cost.
I love this. I
Yeah,
love Mont 58.
I do.
They basically, yeah, everything that I stand for, they're already doing it.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
they've produced their first carbon impact report using Climate Essentials this year, and they're in the process of offsetting all of their emissions and going carbon neutral. They've got a zero waste policy, and they're also selling reusable cups to help people not have to use non-recyclable single-use coffee cups.
Amazing.
I
Good
got a
for
lot.
Mont 58.
I got a lot of time for this,
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
and their
And
cold brew is brilliant.
yeah, I mean, despite living in a fairly toasty hot country, I rarely, rarely, rarely drink cold coffee.
I love a cold brew. I really do.
It's weird for me, but
But
I'm up for
to
it. I'm
be
up for
to be honest,
trying it.
I haven't actually tried theirs yet because I did put an order in. They live in Ashford, Kent. That bicycle journey for a delivery is going to take some time.
Yeah.
I used to live in a small village called Hollingbourne, which was
Mm,
just down the road from Ashford, Kent. So I know Ashford quite well.
okay. All
It was
right.
my
Yeah.
running route was Hollingbourne, Ashford.
Nice.
Mm.
Okay. So maybe you've even met these peeps.
I was probably their inspiration, their muse. Some would say
I would, yeah. It
probably.
wouldn't shock me,
It
to be
wouldn't shock me.
honest,
No.
because your head does look like a coffee bean. Yeah.
There's not an emoji that pops up for that, is there?
Well, that's brilliant. I love that. I love them. I love what they stand for, and I can't wait to taste their coffee when it comes. Although, not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna heat it up and put it in with a hot cup of oat milk and have a very hot cold brew latte.
There you go.
All right. Well, I guess maybe it's my turn to put something on the Spotify
No, it's
playlist, huh?
not. We've got to be honest first. Let's be honest.
Honest. Well, let's be honest. I feel like most of our honesty was done in the chit chat, no?
I agree. I don't think there's a huge amount left to say. I think I'm still struggling with my hip issue a little bit. I'm starting to feel like maybe this is a terminal thing, and I'm starting to degrade, and it's just going downhill, and nothing's going to be good from now on. But I had a
Melodramatic
meet
much.
yeah, I had a meeting with Daisy yesterday.
Friend of the
Um,
pod, Daisy. We love
Friend
her.
of the podcast, Daisy, and she put me out of my misery a little bit. Actually, she didn't. She
She put
put me
you
out of
out of
my
your
mental
misery.
misery,
Gun to the head.
but she fucked me up with some treatment and made my eyes water a little bit. I don't think she did stuff to my abductor that no one should have done to their abductor.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Love that.
it was thoroughly unpleasant. Thoroughly unpleasant, but apparently
But
useful.
is is it better today? Is your hip better today?
It's a bit nippy today, to be honest.
Mm.
But she also did some acupuncture into the abductor to try and loosen it up. So,
Ah, I'd love to have a go at acupuncture.
have you never been acupunctured?
I've never been acupunctured,
No,
even though I lived in China for ages. Never been acupunctured.
it's quite cool. It's quite cool. You
Yeah.
can feel the little needles gripping onto or
Oh,
the bits of body gripping onto the needles.
yeah.
It's quite impressive.
Yeah. I should do some of that nonsense. I think it would be fun. Yeah. Um, so your let's be honest is all hip related still.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think all of mine was pretty much covered, so that was quite cool, and we talked it out at length, so that was fun. My other let's be honest, I would just like to share with the world, even though it's clearly got no relevance whatsoever to do with Get Out in it. I'm absolutely smashing my NaNoWriMo this
Yeah,
month.
you are. I'm very
I've
impressed.
passed today was the day where you had to have written 40,000 words, and I've passed that. And it ends on Thursday. And I think I'm gonna make it.
You're gonna make it. You're
Yeah,
gonna
so that's
make
really
it.
cool. I'm quite pleased with that, even though I've been normal work stuff, normal training stuff, and all the other things. I'm still managing to find time every single day to get my word count done. So yeah,
Very impressive. Very, very impressive.
thanks. So buy my books. Are we going to do? Oh, is it time for me to do my song now?
Yeah.
Can I do my song now?
Yeah.
Okay. Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it?
Okay, I need to lift it up a little bit because I can't see for shit. I'm gonna do something a little bit more upbeat and lively because that's what I've needed this week to get me outdoors and doing my runs.
Then what, out of interest?
Sorry?
You said you can do something more upbeat and lively.
More
What?
upbeat and lively than probably what your song is.
Mine's a synthwave dunga 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 song.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway.
Wow.
I am going to choose something from Oh the Larceny.
Good song. Good
because their stuff always gets me cheerful. It's from their Blood is Rebel EP. I don't know if we've already got it on the playlist already, but I do love their Another Level.
Let me tell
you. That
you.
always gets me super pumped.
Let me tell you.
Because I know I've done Real Good Feeling with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I've done Another Level.
No, we have not.
Oh, cool. Put that badger on then, because that's such a cool track. And it always gets me super pumped to go outdoors, even when I don't want to really go outdoors.
Nice. Then I will add that to the playlist and it will be there available for anybody who wants to get a little bit of motivating, uplifting music into their life. Search Get Out in It on Spotify.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's about it for this week, huh?
That's about it from us, yeah.
I'll let you do the outro
because no, this was your ride, this one.
Oh no. Okay, so if you want to find out any more about us, you can head over to www.getoutinit.events. There is a lot of info on there, and you can sign up for our newsletter, which is super cool. You'll hear from us straight to your inbox personally 2 times a month. I think
give or take 2 times a month. Yeah,
2 times a month. You can download the Personal Development Friend, which is a little booklet that James and I created to give all sorts of help and advice on getting out in it and sleeping and food and all that kind of stuff. And once you've done all of that, you can book an actual free consultation with the 2 of us, face to face, in the flesh, and we'll discuss all things
in the virtual world,
in the virtual flesh.
Yeah.
To discuss everything to do with health and fitness. So,
unless you live in Devon, in which case I'll come and see you.
Or if you live in the Mont d'Or, I'll pop over to your house and we'll have a nice cup of tea.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Do it. And also, if you like this podcast, tell your friends, bring them along for the hike and a chat. And also, if you fancy it, do leave us a nice review and a little bit of starage. It would really, really help us. Thanks, guys.
Cheerio.
Bye, bye, bye.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.